This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
Welcome. Hello. Welcome to DBL. It's Monday, May 11th. I'm Tori in the studio with my buddy, Safari practitioner Al Jackson.
Hello there.
What's up?
You know, Tori, as a kid, you always dream about being on TV, and you always want the 3, 2, you're
Always.
on. And we just got that from our EP, Chris, except
How'd it go?
he just goes 3, 1, you're on. It's like,
It was
we
a
are
good
on
start.
TV.
3, 2, go. Whatever.
I don't know.
We are, of course, practicing social distancing, but our co-hosts are at home, of course. But right now, we have the one, the only, Lindsay Granger. So good to see you, Lindsay. How you doing?
What's up, guys? Listen, I want to ask why somebody always looks like they're going to the safari every single morning. Like it's always one person.
I just have a plaid jacket
No,
on.
no.
If anything, I look like I'm trying to solve a murder. Lindsay looks like we can pick out which constellation we like the best
Yeah,
on her.
she's on the Orion.
I see the Big Dipper.
Yeah, the
I see
Orion.
Orion's belt.
Yep, the Orion.
Yes,
belt.
that's Ryan's belt.
Yeah, Al does look like he needs a pipe and like some
I need a
murder
magnifying
mystery
glass.
to do it. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get, as we joke around, let's get to the news here, a little more serious. The White House is dealing with more staffers testing positive now for COVID-19. 3 top health officials on the coronavirus task force are self-isolating, including Dr. Fauci and the CDC director. Now, this comes after Katie Miller, she's the spokeswoman for Vice President Mike Pence, tested
Did she just
positive.
wake up?
Yeah, she looks a little sleepy. Not a great shot. But you know who's not self-quarantined now?
Who?
Mike Pence. There were some conflicting reports this weekend, but it turns out he will be at the White House today. Meanwhile, as more and more of the nation begins to reopen, some gatherings are raising some eyebrows. So let's check out this scene at a Colorado restaurant. Oh, this looks great. That opened its doors yesterday. Now, the video shows a crowded room full of people and only one person we see wearing a mask, okay? In Florida, beaches were so crowded in Naples that officials closed them again to keep residents safe. And this photo showing a packed United flight has gone viral after the doctor who took it said he was shocked by the relaxed social distance rules. And finally, I'm sure you saw this, armed demonstrators in North Carolina walked the streets of Raleigh protesting the state stay-at-home orders. This picture is a man inside a Subway restaurant. He went viral. He was carrying what appears to be a rocket launcher and 2 like Alexander Hamilton dual pistols on the side there. Real quick, I have to say to that man, do you need the sun chips that much, sir?
Yeah, that.
Chill out.
You don't need to take your wallet when you take that.
Yeah, and he was paying in ones, which people noticed and was funny. But I want to get back to the White House here, Lindsay. How are we supposed to feel protected if the White House itself, the building, can't contain itself?
That's what I'm trying to figure that out because it's like we just saw a report today out of Wuhan saying that a cluster of 5 different people in one small area got coronavirus again. And so we know that that's going to happen as soon as we open up. I think our doctor that's on every single day tells us there's a chance that can happen. So knowing that it happened close to our president or vice president, it doesn't cause any, like, we're not relaxed thinking that, yes, we're about to open back up and it makes sense. People want that to be the answer because we're in the middle of summertime. We need business back opening. But to see that happen in the last week is very scary.
Yeah, Al, would you take it further? Should Mike Pence be isolating? I mean, his spokeswoman has it.
I think he showed us the receipts when he didn't wear his mask at that hospital. He's going to try and tough guy the virus, and that's a decision, not one that I would make, but that's one that he's going to make. What people don't understand is these viruses don't have eyes or ears. They don't know who Mike Pence is. They don't know who Al Jackson is. They just attack the human body. So it's a decision that he's made. I'd rather he kind of lead by example. But we've seen what happens in public places when people have asked people to distance. They've been assaulted. When people have been asked to wear masks, they've been assaulted, killed, beat up, pushed in the water. So this is kind of a decision we're making as a country, and we're going to have to live with the consequences.
Yeah, I think leadership starts at the top, and I'd like them to be wearing masks. That's my opinion. Write us in if you disagree. We do have an update because this show has been following this, and we will continue to follow this, in the death of Ahmad Arbery, who was shot to death back in February. This video of his shooting has sparked outrage, and now, finally, after 74 days, the Attorney General of Georgia has asked the Department of Justice to investigate the handling of the case, or may I say mishandling. That's my opinion. 2 of the men seen in that video were arrested last week. One of them was a former police officer. Meantime, there's new surveillance video, and it was released this weekend. So it's from a construction site and appears to show Arbery shortly before his death wandering around the site. I want to make this very clear to people. This is an open construction site. Other people that weren't of color were walking through the construction site many, many times. Arbery didn't take anything from the site. He was looking around. Is this what we're doing to people, trying to sort of badmouth them after? Is that what you think, Al?
Yeah, I mean, and Lindsay, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. This is the equivalent of Botham John having marijuana in his system, sitting on his couch.
Totally.
Anybody that lives in a neighborhood knows that when there's a construction house going up, you tend to take a look at it just to see what this house is doing, because it might affect your property value for better or for worse. Oh, they're putting a pool in. Oh, they're putting a second level in here. We're looking at normal behavior and trying to attribute nefarious behavior from it. It's a playbook that's been used over and over and over again. And quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of it. Lindsay, what's up?
And I'm not falling for it either, Linz, are you?
No, and I have several people that go to open houses, walk past construction all the time. Like, even when I'm riding my bike out here right now, I'll see houses that are really beautiful, and Colin and I will stop and look at them. I think that looking at this video, he's not doing anything, and it's not going against the story that says that he was robbing several houses or that there were a string of robberies in the neighborhood. What is there to take in a construction zone? Please tell me, is he gonna walk away with like a piece of the house that's getting put up? Like, I'm confused. So I think that there's a lot of people that have recused themselves from this case, and we're seeing a new prosecutor reportedly getting involved in it. I think that something needs to be done about what were the steps taken, because there was a polar opposite response from what's happening now and the two McMichaels being arrested to when they had the video months ago and there was no response at all. You know, I think that there needs to be a huge investigation to see what is the big difference in the information that you have, that you responded so differently after public outcry.
Yeah, after we saw the tapes, you're absolutely right. Well, moving on to some very notable people. They have passed away over the weekend. It was not an easy weekend, including comedian Jerry Stiller, who died overnight at the age of 92 of natural causes. Ben Stiller made the announcement, tweeting, "He was a great dad and grandfather and the most dedicated husband to Anne for about 62 years. He will be greatly missed." Now, Jerry was famous for playing George Costanza's dad in Seinfeld, Serenity No! And was often acting alongside his longtime wife and comedy duo, who was hilarious in her own right, Ann Mira, who passed away in 2015. Also, we had Roy Horn, half of the famous duo Siegfried and Roy, passed away from complications from coronavirus. Siegfried said Roy was a fighter his whole life, including during his final days. And if you remember this, Roy was also survived an attack on stage by a white tiger named Montecore in 2003, which severed his spine. Finally, musician Little Richard died on Saturday at the age of 87 from bone cancer.
Tutti Frutti.
Tutti Frutti. Well, he didn't invent rock and roll. He sure did pave the way for so many rockers after him. He was well known for his high energy piano playing and over-the-top singing. Really quickly, Lindsay here, Paul McCartney, the Beatles got everything, literally, the early Beatles, from Little Richard, Chuck Berry. Elton John you wouldn't have without Little Richard. How do you feel about his passing?
I mean, it was such sad news this weekend. It's really just devastating, but I just, we got to celebrate his legacy and just take the positive out of all the things he taught us, like be yourself unapologetically.
Totally agree with you. Little Richard, rest in peace. I hope you're playing up there in heaven. Lindsay, we'll talk to you later. Coming up on DBL, our medical expert, Dr. Coley, is kicking off another week of answering your questions about COVID-19. Don't miss her vital information. Plus, a couple in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic is separated by a border, but they've managed to keep their relationship alive. We're talking to those lovebirds later in the show. And as we go to break, Little Richard's iconic song, Tutti Frutti. Sing along if you know the lyrics.
She brought me to the east, she brought me to the west. She's a girl that I love best. Tutti Frutti, oh Rudy, Tutti Frutti.
Pets are family, and
Welcome back to DBL. We're all about facts, not fears, mac and cheese, and providing information to keep you and your loved ones safe. Our very favorite Dr. Coley joins us live. Oh, wow. Okay. She's serious with some good jewelry today. I like it. Before we get to some viewer questions, I want to bring back a video of a restaurant in Colorado. This is only half an hour away from where Al and I are sitting in the DBL studio. It's a coffee shop. It's full of people for Mother's Day. Waits were as long as 2 hours. And as you can see, no one's wearing a mask. Duck, what's your instinct to say, really honestly, when you see videos like this?
You know, Tori, I was really upset when I saw this video because we do know for a fact, and science unequivocally tells us that events like this are going to be what are called spreader events, which means for sure they're going to lead to a surge in cases. And even if one person at this restaurant was exposed, you can imagine the number of people they've exposed and then the number of people those people will then subsequently expose. And at this point, the only defense we have against this virus without a vaccine, without a treatment, is social distancing and masks. And when people do things like this, such as what's seen in the video, you're actually playing with American lives. And we are going to pay the price of this with the surge in cases in 2 weeks. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind.
Wow, well said.
All right, we have a really interesting question from Valentina here. She asks, if I take my mask off and put it on the dashboard in my car in the sun, will the UV rays kill any virus that's on the mask?
So, you know, UV light has been shown to be effective at inactivating the virus. It's UVB light that's effective, and it has to be exposed for 30 minutes. Having said that, the amount of UVB light in sunlight and the amount that actually penetrates the atmosphere to get to your dashboard is probably not enough to inactivate the virus. So it probably won't hurt to put your mask on the dashboard, but I wouldn't count on it working on the virus.
That's good to know. Joan writes in, I run around the house disinfecting handles, doorknobs. How do I know when the wipe is no longer effective? That is such
really
a good question.
Yes, I wonder that too.
Because I'm using that down to the threads.
You're my girl. I love that you're disinfecting everything. Basically, as soon as the wipe dries out, so if you wipe something with it and it's no longer wet, it's not working anymore.
Oh. Okay.
All right, that was pretty basic knowledge. Should have known that one. I'm embarrassed.
Easy.
Josephine has a question about exercise. She says it's difficult to walk briskly outside for exercise while wearing a mask. How can I keep up my fitness routine with the mask guidelines in place? I actually kind of dealt with this when I ran for Mr. Arbery last week. I was like catching it, you know.
That's why I walked.
Okay.
I tried.
It is hard. You guys, I find it hard too, especially as the weather's warming up. So I do have a few suggestions. The first is you can try working out indoors, like a treadmill or an elliptical, or I watch Zumba videos on YouTube. And that can be a nice way to not actually wear a mask. But if you're somebody who wants to get out of the house and get outside, then there are a few other suggestions. One is to carry a pocket fan, one of those little fans, because the circulation actually helps your sensation of breathlessness a lot. The second is to try to go early in the morning before people are out, because if there's nobody around, you can probably get away without wearing that mask, but you have to go real early when there's no one around. The third is to try to hit up high schools and actually walk on the track, because it's, you know, we know schools are closed and those areas are usually secluded or abandoned. And the last suggestion I have is to keep the mask in your pocket, and if you see anyone coming, even in the distance, you put it on right away, and that's a way you can try to work around having to wear it all the time when you're exercising.
That's what I've been doing, but people don't like that.
No.
Like when they're approaching you to put the mask on, they're like, hey, I don't got it, you got it.
You move along. I need to see some of your Zumba moves later, but before we go, it's time for Dr. Coley's Silver Lining. Al?
Silver linings, y'all.
Today you want to talk about an amazing unemployment program in Pakistan. Tell us all about it.
Yes, you guys, this is called the Tree Tsunami, and it's essentially a program over 5 years to plant 10 billion trees in Pakistan.
Wow.
And I was just so moved when I saw this because, number one, it put 63,000 people back to work. So for them, it's really the difference between starvation and survival. So it gave them a job. It's obviously helping, you know, the environment by putting in all these trees, and it's really good for our mental health to do gardening as well. And it reminds me a lot of what we did after the Great Depression when FDR did a similar program here in the United States. So it's all about history repeating itself and us learning those lessons again and again.
That's true. FDR during the Depression, he came up with a lot of the New Deal, which was to get people back to work for their dignity as well as money in their pockets. So good to hear from you. We would expect some Zumba later, but I'll get that out.
And also I need to know where to find one of those tiny personal fans when the state fair isn't in town.
You can get them at Target. All right, thanks, doctor, of course. Dr. Coley will be back tomorrow. If you have a question about coronavirus you want answered, write us on social media. You can also email info@dailyblastlive.com. There is no panic. There's just prevention, precaution, and little Zumba. We'll be right back. Welcome back to DBL. They say when there's a will, there's a way. And Canadian Savannah Jolene and her American fiancé, Ryan Hamilton, haven't let a closed international border get in the way of weekly date nights. Aw. Earlier, Erica got a chance to speak with them in today's heart-filled DBL Spotlight.
I'm in Canada, but my fiancé lives in America. We're supposed to get married in 2 weeks, but we can't because of COVID. So instead, we have dates at the borderline where U.S. and Canada meet.
Ryan and Savannah, welcome to Daily Blast Live. I first have to tell you, I have a special interest in your story because my husband and I always say when we walk down the street holding hands, sometimes people stare at us because I'm American and he's Canadian. So this is why I'm so interested in this story.
You can relate. Very nice.
Yes, yes. So Savannah, you're from British Columbia, and Ryan, you're from Washington. So how did you guys meet?
Yeah, so we actually met on a dating app called Hinge, and we matched. Ryan wasn't super interested in my profile. I joked that he gave me a pity date, but it ended up working out in both of our benefit.
It's really common for people where we are to match with people across the border because it's so close. But you just kind of have to figure out if they're actually going to come across the border and go on a date with you or not.
I love this adventure. Sure. Tell me how long you guys are dating and how long you've been engaged.
We started dating last summer, and then we got engaged on March 1st. So we actually were only engaged for 2 weeks before we got separated.
So you get engaged, it's like the happiest day of your life, and then you get separated by a pandemic and quarantine 2 weeks later.
Yeah, so Ryan and I both live between 30 and 40 minutes from the US-Canadian border. So for us, it's not that long of a drive away. But actually, we have been meeting up at the borderline. It's basically just a ditch in between Canada and the US where we live. So we're able to meet and still have, 6 feet apart, but still go on dates. So that's how we've been trying to keep our relationship going through this pandemic.
That's amazing. Now, that's pretty creative, but what are your dates like? What do they entail?
We usually sit on a blanket and talk. Sometimes we go skateboarding. Savannah always has a skateboard in her car. And so I started packing a longboard, and we'll longboard down the road together. But there's not a whole lot you can do other than just kind of hang out.
We know that you guys haven't seen each other in a minute, so is there something that you want to say to each other while we have you here?
I miss you. I can't wait to see you again. I'm super excited to have nice weather again so we can spend some time at the border.
Yeah, Brian, I miss you so much and I love you. I'm just excited to be your wife and to start life together. Yeah, and be husband and wife and start our life together and build a home together and one day maybe a family.
Well, I know that there's a lot of uncertainty, but we're really hoping that the border reopens. I have my eye on it for personal reasons as well. But we want you guys back together. But in the meantime, you are couples goals doing everything to keep your relationship hot and alive during quarantine. And we're just so happy for you and your engagement. And may your wedding day get here fast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Promotional consideration.
Welcome back to DBL. Wearing a mask and washing your hands after a trip to the grocery store can help stop the spread of the virus. But, and I've been thinking about this, should we worry about our clothes and our shoes?
Well, just what you're wearing, probably.
You know, it looks good, I think. It's
okay,
like
you look
garden.
great. I'm messing
Thanks.
with you.
We're chatting about it on today's DBL Health Blast, sponsored by eHealth. So doctors say it's unlikely that you'll contract COVID-19 on your clothes. There are no documented cases at this point, but we've learned that the virus reacts differently to all types of materials. For example, it's proven to live on metal and plastic for up to 3 days.
What am I, a transformer?
Optimus Prime. Shoes tend to be a lot dirtier because they carry bacteria and contaminants into the home. A study by the CDC suggests the virus can live on the soles of your shoes. So the bottom line is there's a small chance it can live on your clothes or shoes, but it's often transmitted person to person. Now, when it comes to your health, for affordable quality health insurance, call eHealth at 1-800-850-0679. Al, really quickly, I found this fascinating. In South Korea, a little kid is coming in and he bows and he puts his feet up right away. My sweatpants were almost showing. And they spray the shoes before he enters the school.
I like that.
Yeah, so you can tell the shoes.
Every little step, literally.
Every little step matters. Reminder, we're on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Bye, guys.